Hi guys, let's do chapter 3 today. We're in Clementine, chapter 3. I hope you're enjoying it so far. I know I am. Alright, chapter 3. I don't even want to think about the school part of Tuesday because it makes me too mad. Margaret's mother sent a note to her teacher today and said, "Watch out, my daughter isn't left alone with Clementine." I told my mom as soon as I got home. "Margaret's mother's upset right now," my mom said. I guess I would be too. Then she let me stir grape jelly into my milk to make me feel better. I must still have been wearing a mad face when Dad walked in because he took just one look at me and then handed me the key to the service elevator. My dad is the manager of our whole apartment building. He says that means all the people who live in the building and even the pigeons are the boss of him. And he has the keys to everything, so I think that makes him the boss. And he understands that riding the service elevator calms me down when I'm mad. Dad said, 4 times sport, that's all. And they're painting up on 7. If the painters need the elevator, you have to get right off. So I rode up to 7 to see if the painters needed any help. You never know. And guess what I saw? 3 men painting the ceiling on stilts. I'm not even making this up. "Need any help?" I asked. "Want me to put on some stilts?" I guess they were being polite because they said, "No thanks, kiddo. We're all set," even though I could see they had a lot more to do. So I rode the elevator exactly 3 more times and then went back home. When I opened the door, I could hear my mom still talking to my dad about the note. "How do you think that made her feel?" she said. "Imagine, as if our daughter is a common criminal." My dad snorted and said, "Well, that is insulting. There is absolutely nothing common about Clementine." And then my mom said, "That's not funny." And my dad said, "Yes, it is, a little." And my mom said, "Okay, I guess it is, a little, but what are we going to do?" And then I quickly closed the door and went back out before I could hear the answer in case it was, "Let's trade her in for an easier kid." I sat in the lobby waiting to get enough bravery up to go to the 5th floor and say sorry to Margaret's mother and ask her for a note that said, "I do not think your daughter is a common criminal." Finally, it came. I didn't take the elevator to Margaret's apartment because I couldn't risk running into old Mrs. Jacoby. Every time I had seen her, she hands me a $5 bill and says, "Run to the store and get me a box of Cheerios, dearie." I don't like to do it because then I have to bring it to her apartment on the top floor and talk to her while she counts the change and then hands me 50 cents. But if she asks me, I have to say yes because A, she is 400 years old and I am polite, and B, I need the money because I'm saving up to buy a gorilla. I bet they cost lots lots. Anyway, I didn't have enough extra bravery to say no thanks to her too. So I walked up the back stairway 5 times 12 stairs, which equals 60. Then I went to 5A and knocked. Margaret's mother opened it, and she just stood there looking like a magazine picture of a mother in a magazine picture of a living room. I said, "Hi." And a bad surprise happened. Although I'd never practiced it before, my voice sounded exactly like a common criminal. Common criminals. "You can't play with Margaret today, Clementine. She's spending the afternoon in her room, thinking about the consequences of her actions, which is what you should be doing too." There she is. Okay, fine. She didn't exactly say the last thing, but I could tell she was thinking hard. Behind her, Margaret's brother Mitchell leaned out from the kitchen doorway so I could see only his head and shoulders. Then, even though he is just in junior high and should know better, he grabbed his hair and pretended to yank himself back into the kitchen. And I laughed even though I knew it was his own hand. I do not think someone should be called the hard one if they make other people laugh. "Clementine, there is nothing funny about this," said Margaret's mother. I didn't tell her what was so funny, and I didn't say sorries, and I didn't ask for a new note in case I still had the common criminal's voice. I just ran down the hall. This time I did take the elevator because I was hoping to run into Mrs. Jacoby, so I wouldn't have to go right home. But I didn't, so I did. And when I opened the door to the apartment, I saw that our living room looked all wrong. Mother was working at her drawing table. Suddenly I realized I'd never seen a drawing table in a magazine picture of a living room. The door I banged the door shut hard. Margaret's mother always wears dresses. I didn't know I was going to say this. Margaret's mother works in a bank, my mother answered, still working on her drawing. It might be a rule. Still, I said. I'm an artist, Clementine. I want to be comfortable. I get paint all over my clothes. I have to wear overalls or jeans. You know that, right? Yes, I said. Still. My mother put down her pencil and looked up then. Clementine, do you sometimes wish you had the kind of mother who worked in a bank and wore dresses? I nailed my mouth down so it couldn't say yes, maybe, sometimes, and quick looked out the window so my mother couldn't see my eyes thinking it. Then my mother got up and looked out the window too. Our apartment is at the basement level, which is halfway underground. This means the windows are right at the sidewalk height, so we both just stood there pretending to be extremely interested in all the feet passing by. What I was really trying to do was imagine my mother in a dress. I guess that's what she was doing too, because suddenly we both made corner eyes at each other, and then we burst out laughing and couldn't stop. Finally, my mother wiped her eyes and said, "Oh, come on. It wouldn't be that funny, would it?" And I said, "Yep, it would." And then I knew exactly the right time to tell her my secret. When I grow up, I might be an artist. And do you know what she said? "Oh, Clementine, you already are. You may end up being something else, too. Whatever you want to be, but you'll always be an artist. You just are." And suddenly, our living room looked quite exquisite with a drawing table in it. But now my fingers itched to be drawing, so I put on my jacket and went to the park to find something interesting to draw. My dad says I'm excellent at noticing interesting things. In fact, he says if noticing interesting things were a sport, I would have a neck full of gold medals. He says that's a very good sign for my future. He says I could be a good detective, of course, but that noticing things is good for any career. My mom says that means I could be a good artist, too. Or a writer. Last year a writer came to my school and said, "Pay attention." But she didn't mean to the teacher. She meant pay attention to what's going on around you so that you can write about it. Then she looked exactly like me and said to notice the good stuff and write it down so you don't forget it. So even though I'm not going to be a writer, too much sitting still, I notice interesting things and write them down. I draw them too. In the park I saw something great right away. A woman eating lentils from a thermos with a toothbrush, even though she had a fork right there, which she was using to eat her salad. So I asked the lady if I could draw a picture of the lentils on her toothbrush, and she said, "Sure." So I did it, and here it is. As soon as I got home, I wrote it all down and asked my mom if we could have lentils for dinner. "You hate lentils, Clementine," my mother reminded me. "Well, I think I've been eating them wrong," I said. So we had lentils, and I ate them the new way, and guess what? It worked. The lentils stuck to the bristles and didn't slide off like with a fork. So I got lots and lots of lentils in my mouth, which was a bad thing, because I hate lentils. All right, guys, that's the end of our chapter today.